Welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ daily news television show, broadcasting live and available on demand on your favorite streaming channels.
Analytics company VidIQ has certified the Queer News Tonight YouTube channel as the world's most popular LGBTQ streaming news show. Our queer stories have reached more than 10 million views.
We are proud that Queer News Tonight has more YouTube subscribers than any other LGBTQ brand in Florida. We thank you for watching and supporting our voice in our rainbow family. There is no other news program in the LGBTQ world like Queer News Tonight. It is Tuesday, July 1st. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we'll tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
You're watching Queer News Tonight, the world's first daily LGBTQ evening news show.
Welcome to the world's most important LGBTQ evening news show. Hotspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model as PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ community. Our nonprofit mission is to support the 11 pillars of our LGBTQ community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of lesbian, trans, Latino, Black, healthcare, seniors, students, faith, social justice, business, and queer culture. Help us support our diverse community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ nonprofit media companies in America, Hotspots magazine and Happening Out Television Network. In 2025, our magazine is celebrating 40 years of the LGBTQ experience, and Queer News Tonight is celebrating our 5th anniversary with more than 10,000 LGBTQ television stories. We present Pride Fête in August, and we declare that love is in the air with Pride Fort Lauderdale on Valentine's Day, February 14th. Our magazine, events, television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ and broader community.
In 2025, more than 100 community leaders will sit at this table and share their voice as our anchors. Together, we host this show to support the LGBTQ community. Let's meet this evening's anchors at Queer News Tonight. Let's welcome anchor Gregg Shapiro, an inductee into the Chicago LGBT Hall of Fame. Gregg is an entertainment journalist whose celebrity interviews and reviews run in a variety of regional LGBTQ publications and websites. Gregg, Yes Institute Zoom workshop to explore gender and orientation on July 22nd. Tell me, what's happening out?
On Tuesday, July 22nd, Yes Institute will host a virtual course titled Essentials of Gender and Orientation from 6 to 8:30 p.m. via Zoom. This interactive session will guide participants through reflective conversations and exercises to better understand gender, orientation, and transgender experiences. Designed for educators, families, healthcare workers, business, and faith leaders, the workshop will offer research-backed strategies to create inclusive, supportive spaces for youth. Registration costs $30 for adults and $10 for students. Attendees will gain tools and language to affirm diverse identities. For details and to register, visit yesinstitute.org. So I have just a little bit of personal interaction with Yes Institute at the time that the Legacy Couples exhibit was being prepared for display in 2022. We were interviewed by some of the youth from Yes Institute, and they just could not have been more wonderful. I think it's a fantastic organization, and this is just another example of the great work they're doing.
Right, and I think it's important that we continue to push the boundaries of gender expression, or as some people are saying, gender neutral terms, so we're not really calling out everyone, but at the same time we're supportive, and everyone needs to learn that language.
And respectful, supportive, yes.
Absolutely. Queer News Tonight looks forward to seeing you at the Essentials of Gender and Orientation course on July 22nd. That is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer non-profit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
And of course, let's welcome tonight's lead anchor, Von Biggs. He is a community engagement and outreach coordinator at Holy Cross Health, a vice chair of the Roy and White Part A Planning Council, and a board member of TransEd and Harmony Waves. Von, Hotspots magazine's July 4th edition will be on stands this Thursday, July 3rd. Tell us what's happening out.
That's right, Greg. You know, I just love Hotspots. Hotspots magazine new issue will be on the stands this Thursday, July 3rd. This is a July 4th edition featuring South Florida's hottest bodies, summer stories, queer cinema, care resources, new full-service health center in Little Havana, and more. The magazine will also cover the upcoming opening of Hidden Social Club on Friday, July 12th. The new issue also takes us inside overcompensating the show Benito Skinner made for the closeted kids who worship Britney and survived bro culture. Plus, don't miss Deep Inside Hollywood, Hot Puzzle, Hot Bodies, Out with Scott, and What's Hot. Grab the magazine on Thursday for free at the nearest stand. You know, the Hotspots has just done a great job with their magazine over the years. I mean, I've been here going over almost 7 years, and you turn to it for everything, and they just continue to get better and better and better with what they're doing in the community.
I think it's definitely a go-to publication. My favorite social clubs are hidden ones, so I can't wait to read about the upcoming opening of Hidden Social Club. Queer News Tonight looks forward to reading the new issue of Hotspots magazine on July 3rd. That's a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Von Biggs, and let's queer up students and youth. From isolation to empowerment, the GSA effect on queer youth. Tonight, we spotlight a powerful lifeline for queer youth, Gender and Sexuality Alliances, or better known as GSAs. In a compelling Psychology Today article, Dr. Elizabeth J. Meyer shares how these student-led clubs are transforming schools into safer, more inclusive places where LGBTQ+ youth don't just survive, but thrive. Dr. Meyer writes, and I quote, "So many of the reasons students and staff enjoy school are due to the relationships and community we find and create there," end quote. That community often begins GSAs, clubs that provide queer students and allies a safe place to connect, learn, and speak up. A national study cited that the article shows the deep impact of GSAs. 90% of the students said they met new people and socialized. 87.6% learned about LGBTQ+ topics. 70% received emotional support, and nearly half discussed harassment and worked with staff to improve safety. But these clubs are more than just support groups. They're leadership labs. Meyer explains how GSA activism helps in better mental health, higher academic engagement, and even a stronger sense of hope. Still, the potential of GSAs remains underused. Only 15% of the clubs are working with district officials to advocate for inclusive policies. Dr. Meyer urges queer youth and their allies need supportive adults to help create such opportunities in their community. In a time when anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and legislation are on the rise, GSAs offer more than belonging. They offer empowerment, and with stronger adult backing, they could help shape the future of education and equality for everyone. You know, I think it's so important. I've gone to a couple of colleges around here in Florida, and some of them have what we would call a GSA, but they don't call it that. They refer to it as the Crayola Club or something like that, where it's just kind of like
sort of
under the radar, so to speak.
Yeah, okay.
Which is great because it's a way they're still finding a way to commute. They can get together with each other and talk about ideas, But like the story says, it's going to take adults and our support people to come out and help them along the way, especially when it comes to advocacy and learning to use their voice.
Absolutely. When I was in school, like 10,000 years ago, the theater department was the closest thing we had to a GSA. And while there isn't much I envy about student life in the 21st century, I can't even imagine what that would be like. But I think that having access to GSAs is one thing I wish we were fortunate enough to have. So keep up the good work.
Yes. Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer non-profit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Gregg Shapiro, and let's queer up politics. House Democrats slammed Treasury plan to erase LGBTQ worker protections. A coalition of House Democrats is raising the alarm over what they call a dangerous rollback of civil rights for queer federal employees. In a letter recently sent, Representatives Richie Torres of New York, Becca Balint of Vermont, Mark Takano of California, and others warned Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent about a proposed policy change that would eliminate sexual orientation and gender identity as listed protections on the department's equal employment opportunity forms. Lawmakers say this move would not only confuse workers, but also make it harder to report discrimination. The letter said, quote, employees should not have to know EEOC or Supreme Court precedent to know that the discrimination they faced on the basis of gender identity or sexual orientation is unlawful sex discrimination that can be reported, end quote. This comes in response to President Trump's January executive order that redefines sex as a strictly binary, biological category. The order, titled Defending Women from Gender Ideology Extremism and Restoring Biological Truth to the Federal Government, instructs all agencies to erase gender identity references and only recognize male or female on official documents. That directive puts pressure on agencies, such as the Treasury, which under former Secretary Janet Yellen had pledged zero tolerance for discrimination based on sexual orientation or gender identity. Now, under Bessent, a gay billionaire, the department is signaling a shift. Torres told The Advocate, quote, it's deeply troubling to see someone who has benefited from civil rights protections turn around and try to strip them from others. Secretary Bessent's move to erase sexual orientation and gender identity from EEO forms signals to LGBTQ federal employees that their government may no longer stand with them. That is a betrayal, end quote. While the court's Bostock decision still protects queer workers under Title VII, Democrats warn that the administration's push for so-called biological truth could erode those protections from within. The Treasury Department has not commented. Well, while I appreciate them for raising the alarm, I hope that there is some kind of significant action that can be taken regarding this madness. And as for the piss-elegant Miss Scott Bessent, queen of the self-loathing homosexuals, she truly is a used-up piece of flotsam. She knows they use anti-gay slurs about her when she leaves the room, right? She knows that they're calling her names. I hope. I'm calling her names.
You know, this is the part I don't understand. They're referring to it as gender identity. Mm-hmm. So if a woman, and I'm just saying, as they've listed it, binary, man, woman, mm-hmm. if a woman has an issue because she's a woman, mm-hmm. isn't that gender identity?
Oh, I guess they hadn't thought that through. That's true. It's about her as
right.
Her gender is female,
right.
and she's being harassed. That's another form of gender identity. Ooh, let's throw it back at them.
That's
yes,
right. That's right. Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Gregg Shapiro, and let's queer up entertainment. Devil Wears Prada 2 teaser drops with OG cast returning. It's happening. The Devil Wears Prada 2 is officially in production 19 years after the original film became a pop culture touchstone and queer favorite. Yesterday, Century Studios dropped the first teaser featuring 2 devil-heeled pumps and a series of iconic lines from the 2006 classic. For years, fans have quipped, "Please, by all means, move at a glacial pace. You know how that thrills me." I don't sound like Meryl Streep, do I? Waiting for any word on a sequel. Now their patience is finally being rewarded. According to The Guardian, Meryl Streep will return as the icy fashion queen Miranda Priestley, alongside Anne Hathaway, Emily Blunt, and Stanley Tucci. Kenneth Branagh joins the cast as Miranda's husband. The original director, David Frankel, is back at the helm with a planned release set for May 2026. So what's the plot this time? Priestley now faces the collapse of the print magazine world and must reckon with the digital age. In a twist of fate, she's forced to reconnect with her once loyal assistant, Emily, now head of a luxury brand with major advertising clout. The first film remains a cult classic, especially within queer circles, thanks to its razor-sharp wit, high fashion, and campy brilliance. It even inspired a stage musical that premiered in London in 2024. Fans are already bracing for high drama, unforgettable fashion, and maybe a few life lessons about power and self-worth. Because let's face it, everybody wants this. That's all. I'm not really sure everybody. I mean, does anyone else think this might have something to do with Anna Wintour stepping down from Vogue? Is it possible there's a connection here? And it's true, The Devil Wears Prada is an undeniable classic, so I don't understand why they would want to mess with this, with its iconic status, with a sequel that may or may not be its equal. And dearest Meryl, this is Greg, hi. Dear Meryl, we all remember and would like to forget Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, a sequel. And there are good reasons there wasn't a Ricky and the Flash too. Thank you.
Oh my gosh. You know, doing the story, I'm thinking back because I used to be in publishing. And I remember, you know, once the internet hit, I mean, I was in reference material, so it was like encyclopedias, dictionaries, cookbooks.
Yeah.
The internet wiped that out in our industry, right?
Right, there's no more shelves of encyclopedia.
Right. As well as it wiped out our independent, a lot of our independent bookstores,
true,
right?
yeah.
So hearing that storyline, I'm kind of going, in the magazine world, I'm like, well, this could be, I'd be curious to see what's going to happen.
Except independent booksellers did eventually make a comeback.
Right.
So I think people might miss the print.
Yes.
So hopefully it will come back.
Absolutely. Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Now let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Vaughn Biggs, and let's queer up the worldview. China arrests dozens of LGBTQ plus erotica writers in growing crackdown. In a chilling crackdown on LGBTQ expression, Chinese authorities have arrested dozens of writers for publishing gay erotica online, many of them young women in their 20s. According to the New York Times, police in Gansu province recently detained as many as 50 writers. Lawyers told the BBC that at least 30 writers have been arrested nationwide since February. Many of these writers shared their stories in Haintang Literature, a Taiwan-based adult fiction website where authors earn money through reader subscriptions and tips. A popular genre on the site is Damn Me, which focuses on romantic and sexual relationships between men. Under China's 1997 law banning pornographic materials, even writing fictional erotic content can be a criminal offense. Those earning more than $34,500 can face life in prison, but even writers making little or no money have been arrested. A special task force in Anhui province detained more than 50 writers from June to January. Sentences have ranged from 1 to 5 years, sometimes depending upon whether the writers could return the money that they earned. Some tried to share their experiences on Weibo, China's version of Twitter. One woman wrote, quote, "I'll never forget it, being escorted to the car in full view, enduring the humiliation of stripping naked for the examination in front of strangers, putting on a vest for photos, sitting in a chair, shaking with fear, my heart pounding," end quote. Another wrote, quote, "Right now I can only hope the law will see beyond the words on the page and see the girl who skipped meals to save money, the girl who sold her hair to buy a pen, the girl who believed her mind could carve a way through fate. I hope it gives all of us a fair chance," end quote. For LGBTQ communities worldwide, it's a sobering reminder. Queer storytelling remains courageous and sometimes criminalized act. You know, it just continues to show from a worldview, right? I mean, here in the U.S., even though the issues that we have in our country, we have far more freedoms than other countries do.
Yeah, but for how long?
Right.
I mean, the thing is, if you don't think such a crackdown led by the Heritage Foundation, aka the Fourth Reich, could happen here, you are sadly mistaken. This is outrageous and could easily happen in other places, including our own country. It's just terrifying.
Yeah,
it really is.
Sad. Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight.
Now, let's dive deep into this big LGBTQ story for today. I'm Gregg Shapiro, and let's queer up the USA view. Navy renames Harvey milk ship, sparking LGBTQ plus backlash. In a move igniting national controversy, U.S. Defense Secretary and former Fox News host Pete Hegseth has officially renamed the Navy supply vessel once known as the USNS Harvey Milk. The ship will now be called the USNS Oscar V. Peterson. Hegseth posted a video announcement on Twitter.
Well, I'm pleased to officially announce that the Department of the Navy is renaming the Fleet Replenishment Oiler, formerly known as the USNS Harvey Milk, to the USNS Oscar V. Peterson. We are taking the politics out of ship naming. We're not renaming the ship to anything political. This is not about political activists, unlike the previous administration. Instead, we're renaming the ship after a United States Navy Congressional Medal of Honor recipient, as it should be. People want to be proud of the ship they're sailing in. And so we're renaming it after a chief, a Navy chief. That during the Battle of the Coral Sea in May of 1942, Chief Water Tender Peterson led a repair party on the USS Neosho. The ship was severely damaged by Japanese dive bombers, and the entire repair party was either killed or severely wounded. Peterson himself was gravely wounded, yet he managed to single-handedly close the bulkhead stop valves, thereby helping to keep the ship operational. In performing his historic actions and heroic actions, Peterson received additional injuries and burns, which tragically resulted in his death. But his spirit of self-sacrifice and concern for his crewmates was in keeping with the finest traditions of the Navy. And for his heroic actions, Oscar Peterson was posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. So I would like to officially welcome the USNS Oscar V. Peterson to the Navy's Vessel Register.
But for LGBTQ Americans, this change feels deeply political. Harvey Milk is one of the first openly gay elected officials in the U.S., winning a seat on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors in 1977. This is important. He served in the Navy during the Korean War, but was forced out with a less than honorable discharge simply for being gay, but he did serve. Milk became a symbol of hope and pride for queer Americans, famously urging queer people to come out in his 1978 Hope speech to fight the conspiracy of silence. The ship was originally named after Milk in 2016 as part of a broader Navy effort to honor civil rights leaders, including Sojourner Truth, John Lewis, and Dolores Huerta. But Hegseth has reversed those decisions, ordering all such ships to be renamed as the current administration moves away from what it calls divisive diversity efforts. Oscar V. Peterson, the ship's new namesake, was a white Navy hero from World War II, posthumously awarded the Medal of Honor. He was not publicly connected to any LGBTQ or civil rights causes. Progressive veterans group Vote Vets called the timing deliberate and damaging, saying, quote, "To erase Milk's name now during Pride Month is no innocent bureaucratic decision," end quote. Harvey Milk was assassinated in 1978. He was posthumously awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Obama in 2009. Erasure is, of course, just another form of censorship, and it's happening right before our eyes on a daily basis. And this is another example of the insidiousness of this administration. No doubt there will be more to come between now and January 2029. It's still early, right?
I mean, how much time do people spend to rename a ship? Don't they have other things to do in their world besides looking at the name of ships? I'm curious. I mean, how much money is he getting paid to sit there and rename a ship?
Yeah, I know. And I realize that he looks so comfortable in front of the camera. It's all the years he spent in front of his OnlyFans page. That's why he looks so comfortable.
Well, that is a big LGBTQ story for today. There is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by subscribing and sharing Queer News Tonight. Those are today's headlines from Queer News Tonight. These anchors represent the best of our LGBTQ community. If our community is important to you, share this news with your friends and family. Join the conversation on your favorite streaming platform. Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines.
We need your support. If our community is to grow and then thrive, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world. This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Vaughn Biggs, and on behalf of Queer News Tonight and Gregg Shapiro, hope to see you daily at 8 p.m. To our LGBTQ world, we hope you will join us by embracing love, generosity, bravery, be transformative, and queer. Good night.
Good night, y'all.